Thank you, sir. Yeah, in response to a follow-up that you sent into our organization, somebody to stop by.
Yeah, but now you had mentioned, okay, you're talking about the Bible is being recorded 2 Timothy and being expired 2 Timothy.
Yes, the Bible is expired.
So you can read from cover to cover that it is expired.
Well, yes. Oh, yes, this is God's word.
Okay.
This is our guide. Otherwise, we'll do with it. It would be no good to us. Right.
But I had a question dealing, okay, now, when you say, I think you had mentioned that they reference to inspire. Now, what does, like, inspire mean exactly? And then people try to know that.
Well, the Bible is written under inspiration. In other words, Jehovah's used men to write the Bible. But it's not like suppose that you were suppose you were a businessman, and your wife is your secretary, and you want to dictate a letter. So if you dictated a letter to her, she wrote the letter out.
Okay.
So whose letter is it? You did the writing on it, but whose letter is it? It's your letter.
Right.
What it was written. It was written under inspiration. So allow men to heal. Now, what he did allow them to do was put their personality in things. But it was under his inspiration that they wrote the Bible. So everything in here belongs to Jehovah.
Okay. Now, so what I'm looking at from this, like, what I see what the scholar is saying is that no translation of these sacred writings into another language, except like the original writer, is inspired. Do you believe that?
There's no what now?
It says, no translation of these sacred writings into another language, except by the original writer, is inspired.
I don't understand what that means.
Okay.
What do you say that means?
Okay, like, say, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They had no part, or you can go back, prophets before had no part in writing what we have now as the Bible.
In English. In English.
Right. Any translation, even out of the manuscript.
They wrote the manuscript.
Who did?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Where is that at?
They wrote the original manuscripts. They're in English.
Okay, now you say, okay.
They wrote the original manuscript. They were inspired to write the original manuscript.
Right.
Everything else is a translation of it.
Right.
See, they wrote the Hebrew and Greek.
Now, when we say, I think that's the question right there. Okay, we say, exactly, you just answered. We say, that's what I say, no translation of these sacred writings into another language, except by the original writer, which we say Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is inspired.
No, but you can't say that.
Why is that?
You can't say that. The Bible itself is inspired. All men did was just translate it. That doesn't stop it from being inspired. All they did was just translate the words into a language that we can understand. We couldn't understand Greek if the Bible was written in Greek. We don't know Greek. We speak English then. We don't know Hebrew. That's why no books are written in Hebrew or Greek today. They're all written in language that you can understand. What good would they give this word? Look at the Quran. Isn't that written in English?
That's a translation.
Translation of English.
That's right.
So, but if it was in the original language, and it was written in, what good would it do you? You couldn't understand it.
But see, that term inspired, see, that's what the key here. Because if God gives you something from you, and you write it, that's inspired.
Okay.
Anything after that, whether it's a translation.
But that doesn't change the fact that it was inspired. That's how you got it. That was inspired. That doesn't change that.
Are you familiar with the 5th degree circle?
The original writings of the Christian Greek scriptures, commonly called New Testament, were inspired. No translation of these sacred writings into another language, except by the original writers, is inspired. In copying the inspired inspired originals by hand, the element of human frailty is entered into it. And so none of the thousands of copies that exist in the original language are perfectly duplicates. The result is that no two copies are exactly alike. Such has been the result with the mere handwritten copies of the scriptures. Much more is it true that no version of them into another language by an uninspired translator would be perfect. It would not be accurate. It could not be accurately rendered the precise meaning of the inspired original. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Right, but that's just not what you just said. You said...
I said it doesn't change the fact that those writings that the Bible is inspired. The Bible was inspired. I didn't say the translators were inspired. I said the Bible was inspired.
No, but my statement was according to what the scholar said, according to the New World Translation, that no translation of these sacred writings, which is the inspired works, into another language. Any language, except by the original writers, is inspired. So that means that's not inspired. The Bible I have is not inspired. Or any other copy like I have on the shelf is not inspired.
No, that's not what they're saying.
How not?
That's not what the Bible itself is inspired. It says so. Now, if you talk about copies themselves, were individuals inspired to make copies? No. Nobody was inspired to make a copy. But the original manuscripts were inspired.
Right, the original manuscript, but we don't have the original manuscript.
Well, let's pass them around. That's how they make translations from it.
Yeah, but those translations are from the original,
from copies that were made. That's true.
Copies of copies.
Well, I don't know how many
copies.
We don't have
the original.
The exact originals for most of them we don't have.
Right. Well,
we have copies of it.
And what I saw is like none. We have none of the originals.
Oh yeah, there's some few fragments of the originals around.
Fragments.
Yeah.
For now.
But enough to check to make sure that that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls were. Yeah.
Okay, but we still, and like I said, that's still not something right here. Like I said, human frailty entering the number of thousands as sent today, and the original language are perfect duplicates, because out of the 24,000 that we have, none of them, as this said also, none of them are exact or alike.
Well, no, because there are words today that don't match those words. We have words that didn't even enter into the Hebrew language.
Well, yeah, you could say that, but if it's coming from the original manuscript, and those are not, which one do you take to be the inspired word of God? Because no two copies are alike.
Well, what do you do then?
What do you mean?
What do you do?
Well, me personally, I mean, like I said, my question was, I don't know what you said inspired. I don't see that as an inspired word. Now, of course, even that Quran, that Quran is not inspired. That's a translation. Even though they do, they do have the original Arabic Quran in existence.
So what you said is the Bible is a lie.
I believe in truth and falsehood in the Bible.
Oh yeah, truth and falsehood.